Okay, howdy folks. Woodgie Walls here from neatcoffee.com, back again on the couch for another Stayhomer review. Here's how it works for the uninitiated. In the days before the apocalypse, I used to go to the cinema and drive home while telling you about the film that I had just seen. Because I was lazy and I figured that would be better than actually writing an actual review, but it takes longer sometimes. But since we've had the apocalypse and I'm not ready to go into a room, especially for a film as long as what we're about to talk about, and breathe air that these other people have been breathing, or breathing in and breathing out, that annoying breathing in, breathing out thing that people do. So, not ready for that yet, but luckily, despite what some directors would like, I can watch films from the privacy of my home. So today, whatever, we're here to talk about the Batman. And first of all, I'm not exactly sure when we ran out of titles for films, because we've got Batman and then the Batman, then we had Suicide Squad and the Suicide Squad, and then we've had like 3 Halloween movies that are just Halloween. We're doing sequels now that are just, they don't even have numbers anymore. Is it because, okay, this is a total digression, but is this because you have cinemas who still use the little, plastic letters that they have to put up there with a little suction pole? Do they just not have a lot of numbers anymore? Have they been complaining? Anyway, so we're here to talk about the Batman. Synopsis. It's a Batman movie. I mean, that could be a synopsis, but so basically, we're in year 2 of Batmaning around Gotham, and he's making some inroads with the cops and basically being Batman more than Bruce Wayne, which is a good thing because he's got a terrible haircut as Bruce Wayne. But the main point is that there is this new weird wild guy who is I don't know, cosplaying a really terrible Ninja Turtle. Anyway, he's the Riddler, and he has riddles, and he wants to expose the lies of Gotham, and he's going to kill people in order to do that, and he has a thing for the Batman as well, and so hijinks ensue. I mean, that's basically our synopsis. So let me tell you where I'm coming from with this one, just before we get into the film itself. First of all, I'm disappointed that we did not get the Ben Affleck Batman film, because I actually enjoyed the Ben Affleck Batman. I know some people did not, but I liked what he brought to the role. He was a good elder statesman, Bruce Wayne, and warehouse fight. What else can I say? But so be it. So we instead have this. And when I saw the trailers, I thought, well, I like this cast, but I wasn't. My tractor was uncranked. Let's put it that way. But I was willing to give it a shot because I like Batman, and I like I said, I like this cast. So yeah. So we come to the actual film. It premiered basically today, or I just finished it, so just yesterday by a few minutes. And well, let's see. There's a lot of good things to say first. The cast, Paul Dano, although, let's put it this way. I initially thought he was going to be kind of wasted, but there were scenes where you basically saw, oh, that's why you got somebody like him, who can do this. So he's great. Jeffrey Wright, always good in basically everything. well, Robert Pattinson. We'll talk about Robert Pattinson in a second. Zoe Kravitz, a capable Catwoman. Andy Serkis, a decent Alfred. Um, Without giving anything away, certain characters were not given as much to do as I might have liked, but so be it. Um, Colin Farrell was pretty amazing as the Penguin. I mean, much has been made of the fact that if you didn't know it was Colin Farrell going into it, I don't know how in the world you would know it was him. Um, but yes, okay, so let's talk about Robert Pattinson. I know many people are still hung up on this thing about, well, that's the guy from Twilight. And I get it, because he's done a lot of films. I mean, apart from that small bit in Harry Potter, Tenet is probably the biggest film he's been in since the Twilight series, I would think. So if you're not big into indie cinema, you wouldn't have indie cinema. Did I say indie? I don't know what I said. It's late. It was a long movie. If you're not into indie cinema, if you're not watching a lot of art house films, then you might be wondering where the heck he's been. Well, he's been over there. And if there is anything in your mind that makes you think sparkly vampire, that's the first thing you think of when you think of Robert Pattinson. I got two words for you: The Lighthouse. Yeah, if you want to wipe that out of your memory, and I can understand why you would, The Lighthouse, that'll do it for you, because that's nuts. I actually have a Stayhomer in the can about that. I gotta edit and put up. So, but anyway, so I've no problem with Robert Pattinson, and I'm a big believer in uh, letting casting, not freaking out about casting until I actually see them in action, because I remember when they cast Michael Keaton as Batman, and everybody was like, Michael Keaton as Batman, that's ridiculous. And I said, wait. I said, first of all, rewatch Beetlejuice, but wait, just wait. And of course, he was fine. He's better than fine. He's pretty great. I remember when 85% of the world's population was freaking out about what a terrible choice Heath Ledger was to play the Joker. So, people forget these things, but that's how people were reacting at the time. So I'm always like, just wait. And the good news is that he was fine. He was fine as the Batman, and fine as Bruce Wayne. He, well, sticking with the things that I really liked. Let's stick with that for a second. I really liked the sets. I really liked the feel of the film. I know much has been made of how DC films love to be dark and gritty, but I mean, this was professionally dark and gritty. I mean, they brought in dark and gritty experts from that were busy. They were basically like taking notes on paintings that hadn't been cleaned yet, that were still just completely black, and going, oh, I see what they did there. I thought it looked great. I thought it was shot beautifully. I mean, the cinematography was amazing. And there are certain fight sequences, without giving anything away, that are just really visually spectacular. And not in a, Superman versus Batman balls to the wall type of thing, but just more akin to let's put it this way, more akin to first season Daredevil. Let's put it that way. Just really down in there and really face in the mud type of punching and kicking. So that looked great. And like I said, I really enjoyed pretty much the entire supporting cast. Now, so we can't stall any longer. My problem with Robert Pattinson, and not even the problem with him, is that I felt like there wasn't a lot for him to do. I felt like for the most part, all of the other roles, I'm like, okay, I see why you picked these people for that. And I see why you picked Robert Pattinson to play Bruce Wayne / the Batman. But I just felt like there wasn't there just wasn't a lot there that I could see, that not that he was doing, but like what is there that anyone could bring to this role that would be unique? And I wasn't sure. Now, I this could be completely me, and this could be the fact that we've had I don't know how many Batmans in how many years, and we've got Michael Keaton coming back. So I mean, maybe I just want too much from my Batman. I don't know, but I was struck by that everything else happening around him I thought was uh, there was more to everything that was going on except him. And yes, it is a more detective-y Batman than we've seen in the past, but I don't know. I don't know. He was there. He delivered the lines well, but and I don't think it was him. I honestly think that the part of Batman was the least interesting out of the entire film, which is weird. I understand that. But that's what I was mostly left with. And there are some moments in the film, I will probably, as a coda, mention one of them, spoilery wise, but I will warn you, that'll be the coda. Um, there are some moments that were so unrealistic given the certain level of realism that they were trying for, that they took me out of the film, because I was like, really? Really? Moments like that, which, I think if you were more into the flow of the film, maybe you wouldn't catch them. But I will also say it took me a while to get absorbed into the film. Not even that, because watching it, like I said, all of those aspects of it, the look of the cinematography and the cast and the whatever, they kept me pretty much riveted. You know, one of these things where you just go, I'm not going to go get a coffee refill because I want to see what happens next. That type of thing. And you can get coffee refills on your couch. Um, but I don't know. I felt that of everything that I was watching, the Batman part of it was the least served, the least well served. And I feel like that's a shame, because I think he would be great at doing more than just standing still a lot of the time, or moving very slowly, and speaking in a husky voice, not as husky as Christian Bale, but a kind of husky voice. So I think that and the bits where I thought they just leapt out the window of realism. That's that's actually not even a spoilery thing. It's not even a window jumping thing, I think, that I'm referencing there. But basically, those were the two things that bothered me the most. And I will say, I'll probably mention the other thing that bothered me in the coda. It's a spoilery thing, probably too much to say, even shrouded in lots of weird language, it would probably still come through. But and it's a shame, because when you get to the climax, it's a heck of a climax. The final kind of battle thing that happens, and I'm being vague to try to avoid spoilers. Um, it's there's a lot going on, and that was pretty cool. So that, I think, towards maybe the final third of the film is when I really felt like I had gotten into the groove. Like, me and the movie had finally kind of hit it off, and we're having a nice cup of coffee together that I had gotten refilled, I guess, at some point in that metaphor, and we're getting along fine. But then, of course, there were some things later on which bothered me. So that's it. I wish I could just spoil everything for you. Anyway, so did I like the film? Yeah, I did. I did. It's, I mean, it's not for me personally. It doesn't have a good, or huge rewatch factor on it. I don't know when I'll be watching it again, but I'm glad I watched it once. And I would be interested to see what they do next, and I would be willing to watch whatever they do next because I like the directorial bent of this, and I like everything that he brought to the table. I just want more for Robert Pattinson to do because I feel like he deserves more. Not saying he was bad. I'm just saying I wanted them to give him more to do other than what he was given to do. So, cup wise, I was this close to doing 4 out of 5 cups, but then something happened towards the end which annoyed me, and I'll talk about that in a second after the spoiler. You'll understand why when you get to the coda. Um, but but that I think knocked it down to square 3.5 for me. Again, a positive rating, um, and I did enjoy the film overall. Should you see it? Well, if you're a Batman fiend, you probably already have. But if you were waiting for it to hit HBO Max so you too could see it from the privacy of your own couch, then yeah, get some popcorn, sit back, relax. Um, you know, uh, Maybe do a double feature with Seven. I don't know, whatever you want to do. But yeah, you should probably see it. If the idea of watching a Batman film inherently has no value for you, then you could probably wait. I would be. I actually was thinking about how much of this film would I understand if I was coming to this cold. I don't know who on the planet at this point could come to it cold, but that would be a fascinating experiment. So yeah, so 3.5 out of 5 cups for The Batman. And again, if the sequel is called A Batman, then I will see it twice, guaranteed. So anyway, that is another Stayhomer in the can. Thanks so much for watching these. As always, and this is not a paid placement because I don't have any of those, but it's a thing you have to say up front if you have a paid placement. I don't think this is a paid placement to tell you to go to needcoffee.com/Amazon if you're going to purchase things from Amazon. Because when you do that, you go to the front page of Amazon just like you've gone to the front page of Amazon, which is what you've done. But when you purchase things after doing that, we get kickbacks for it, which helps pay for not all of this because the couch is paid for basically. But anyway, you know what I'm saying. The server costs money, bandwidth costs money, the lights cost money. Keeping the dog fed so she doesn't come up to me and snore loudly and ruin the whole thing. Things like that. So again, thanks so much for watching, and come to needcoffee.com for more of this nonsense, and we will see you next time on the Stay Home Reviews. Bye. Okay, has everybody seen it? If you haven't seen it, you got to go away because I'm about to say spoilery things. You good? You've seen it. Don't. Okay, I'm gonna trust you. 2 things. One, there's a particular cameo, shall we say, towards the end of the film that I thought was unnecessary. That I felt really kind of was tacked on. It felt like some executive somewhere said, "Well, you gotta put him in it." It didn't feel right at all. But the main thing is this. Here is what took me right out of the film, and it took me a while to get back. If you're Batman and you're unconscious in a room so full of cops that the fire marshal at some point somewhere in town is going, there's a disturbance in the force. That's how many people are in this room, right? And they're all cops. You can't tell me that mask is staying on. You cannot. There's no universe, apart from this one, which is weird, where that mask stays on. I realized it kind of has to stay on for the purposes of the plot, because otherwise the film goes in a completely different direction really quickly. But I mean, come on.